Okay, well, hello and welcome to the first episode of whatever this is, the Rude Jokes
The
Parlor.
rude jokes parlor.
Yeah. Where it's very rude. The jokes aren't really that funny, but they're rude.
Yeah.
And we just talk shit, basically.
Yeah.
So, what I thought we could talk about first is podcasting and vodcasting and vlodcasting or whatever it's called. Um, like, I guess the questions I had was like, where are we as a society at the moment with this? I want to say new medium, but it's not really that new. It's been around for a long time, but I think recently it's possibly had a lot more influence on the world than it has in the past. What are your thoughts about that at the moment? Where it's at the moment?
Yeah. So I think the way we consume a podcast is quite different. We've always had some form of story media in community, whether it's just sitting around a campfire and talking. But that doesn't really share it. Radio definitely brought the sharing, and there were radio dramas, there were talk shows, there are still talk shows on AM radio, apparently. But with the advent of YouTube and even SoundCloud to some extent, podcasts are much easier to make, much more accessible.
Yeah.
And you can consume them on the go. You don't actually have to sit and wait for your favourite podcast to come out, unless you like to see them live.
Yeah, I've heard the term found time, as in like these days we have found time, as in like when you're washing up or when you're on the treadmill or something. We actually have there's this time there that previously wasn't being used. Maybe listen to music or something, but now people can actually listen to something that's not just music, maybe something more informative or something, which previously has never been possible before. Really, I mean, it was it was near impossible to kind of consume long form entertainment whilst driving a car, for example. I mean, you had to rely basically on radio if your car had a radio.
Or I Spy.
Yeah, that's yeah. But now, like, this, for example, you can listen to anywhere if you so choose to.
That's it.
And I guess from what you're saying, like, there's always been storytelling and the power, I suppose, to tell a story has been in the hands of individuals and larger groups. But I guess, like, in recent times, being able to share that story, beyond your own tribe or something, has only been in the hands of large organizations, governments or large corporations. So, for example, the traditional media of print, TV, and radio was only ever possible through lots of expense and organization and that kind of thing. Whereas, I guess with this one, all you need is the items that you have in your pocket, pretty much. So now anybody can share information and anybody can listen to that information, almost anybody. That's never ever happened before, where people like you and I, without money or organization, very little organization, can now send a message that can potentially be picked up by anybody in the world, pretty much. What effects do you think that's going to have or is having at the moment?
Yeah, access to technology has been a huge thing. You do see homeless people with phones. It is one of the most important pieces of technology that someone can have. You don't need a phone number necessarily. You can get by on just Wi-Fi alone. Viber, Skype, WhatsApp, all of these, even Facebook Messenger, have great communication standards, and most places have a Wi-Fi location. Most cafes, McDonald's, public libraries, even retail establishments, phone stores, definitely. So you could feasibly get away with having a $100 smartphone, film your podcast, consume other people's podcasts, and just travel around to different Wi-Fi locations to actually get those downloads and uploads happening. It makes it accessible to quite literally just about everyone.
Yeah, and we talked about this previously. How when you mentioned about just kind of just using Wi-Fi and not really needing the phone or the data, I can't even think the last time I used the phone as a phone without the internet, and all of that can be done via Wi-Fi now. You know, if you live somewhere like in a city where Wi-Fi is available everywhere, which I think is going to change how telecommunication companies work. It's going to change. It's going to have to change. They're going to have to change how they do their business model. And because if someone like myself just goes, oh well, I'm not going to pay for any data or anything on my phone, I'm just going to go from free Wi-Fi everywhere, and that's going to surely have a big effect on their bottom line. And it's going to be. And also, a lot of the biggest companies and richest people in the world are in telecommunications. Well, they have been for the last 40 years, whatever.
Yeah.
How's that going to,
Well, even
is that
more
going to change,
recently,
whatever?
Some of the richer people are people who own the internet businesses. So I think the guy that owns TPG is one of the richest people in Australia, for obvious reasons. Other than that, it has been mining, and there was obviously the mining boom.
Yeah.
But realistically, how much money do we need in society to get by? I mean, if you can meet your needs with food, that's one vital expense. Shelter, just something to keep the rain off. Like, it's a rainy day today, but got a roof over the head, got food, got some clothes to keep warm. Actually have a heater on to keep warm.
Even nice.
Because electricity is great.
Yeah.
But that's the necessities for life, essentially. You don't need a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, we'll go into this topic here, only because just talking about how I haven't actually used my phone as a phone, for ages. And another thing, thanks to technology, I haven't used for maybe 6 months at least, is cash. I just haven't used cash for ages. Now, about 4 months ago, I went out with some friends and I paid, and they all gave me cash, right? They all gave me $20 each, right? So in my wallet, I've had about $80 worth of cash in my wallet for 4 months, and I don't know what to do with it.
Probably don't publicise that you carry around $80 in cash.
I'm almost at the point where if someone says, "Give me your cash," I'm like, "Here, have it." Like what? I have not used it. So what? So there's almost like, I went past a homeless person the other day. Or sorry, a beggar. I don't. They may or may not be homeless. They were begging for money. So there you are. And I thought I could give him $1. I could give him $80. Like, because I'm not using it. Like, and he could. I didn't, because I'm a bastard. But but it made me think also, because this particular. I have to say beggar, because that's what he was doing. He was begging for money. So there we are. He was sitting outside a local grocery shop, and what would happen is people would go in, they'd buy their groceries traditionally with cash, right? They give them a $50 note, whatever, and they get change. And while the change is in their hand, they get the groceries and they walk out the door, and the beggar's there, and they give the change to the beggar. So it's kind of that helps the customer, because they're like, oh, I've got the change in my hand and it's too much bother to put in my pocket. You can have it. He wins, because if everyone does that, then he's actually getting a lot of money that way. But just the other day when I went through, so every time I go past him, I'm like, sorry, I don't have anything, because I've just used my card, and that $80 is in my wallet now. I'm like, I'm not getting that out. But then I looked, and everyone else was doing what I was doing. They were all paying with card, so there was no extra change, physical change, to give to the beggar. Which made me think about if we keep going towards, let's say, as a cashless society, like physically cashless society. Are there some unintended consequences? I was thinking, what happens to all the beggars? And even in Canberra, which is where we live, there are a number of them in the city, in the towns, probably some in the suburbs, in the shops as well. In Brisbane, where I'm from, there's lots of them. And what happens to all of them? Like as in, like, the traditional art of begging, what happens when no one actually has physical coins? Like, how do you beg? Buskers, for example, how are buskers going to work? I was just thinking about that, like, because are you going to have like an FPOS machine or something? Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts about?
obviously some higher end guitars are going to need to have like a pay pass, or have like a little QR code that sends you. What do they use? Venmo, WeChat.
There you are. Yeah.
Don't use WeChat. Apparently, it's shit.
Right.
Just not secure. PayPal, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess as you're saying, like even some homeless people have a phone. So they could receive payment via their phone, couldn't they, or something?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because can't you pay by like tapping phones together or something? There's that technology, apparently, whatever it's called. I don't know. Well, that's how I've been paid for everything. Just wave my phone up like, you've been paid now, goodbye. Well, there could be a technology or something like that where...
I mean, like, I've seen those, the smartwatches where you just sort of tap it and go. Is there a point where someone can own wealth without actually having any physical storage medium for that wealth?
Yeah.
And how do we transfer wealth between those storage mediums or non-storage mediums?
Yeah, and I guess that kind of it ties into a few topics that we've got, and one is the kind of cryptocurrency ideas. Well, more the idea is that like value can be stored and exchanged without anything physical. As in, like, value or currency is it's all a state of mind, and it actually is. In some societies that they might just they just designate, okay, milk cartons are our currency, so this is worth X many food or house or whatever, and you trade that. There may not be any intrinsic value in the item itself. It's just an agreed upon whatever. Which is exactly what our money is. The money itself is not actually worth anything. We just
representation of something useful.
That's right. Yeah. As opposed to something like precious gems or gold, which intrinsically has value in it. We haven't used that kind of
not necessarily for gems, but for gold and silver. These days it's for circuitry. That's about it. Previously it was for jewelry. I don't know about anything else. Maybe aesthetics.
I think just the fact that it's shiny and humans and animals just like shiny. I think it has an intrinsic value. I think people will pay a lot of money for a gold ring, even though maybe it has no function to it. Whatever. It's just people like it, and I think the value from what I understand, the value of gold and silver is that humans will always find shiny valuable. As I understand it,
we are just magpies.
Yeah, that's right. But all that aside, because we don't really, in Australia and with America's economy, it's not based on gold and stuff anymore. It's kind of based on fake promises. but it's based upon like what's in our head. We just say that's what it's worth. But with like these kind of decentralized currencies, these online currencies, no one... I don't know a lot about it, so I should ask you, what are your thoughts about blockchain technology and using it for currencies and contracts, that kind of thing? But from what I understand, it is like it is not dependent on someone's opinion. It's not controlled. It's not centrally controlled. That's how I understand it. Is that what you understand?
Yeah. So there's a good video of it explaining what is blockchain technology, and it's essentially a too long didn't read. Is everyone is processing mathematical formulas that have encrypted certain information, such as there is $100 paid from me to you, but then you've also paid $20 back to me, so you have $80. A bunch of people are doing algorithms to confirm certain things, and then if you change one number in that algorithm, it drastically changes the results of the encryption. And whoever has the longest set of correct calculations wins. So eventually, even if you send out fake information like I've paid you, oh no you haven't, one chain is eventually going to get longer. That might not happen immediately, but it will happen eventually. And that will be considered the correct chain. So the longest chain essentially wins. So, I mean, that's not necessarily helpful for the average consumer of a cryptocurrency or a blockchain technology. But it is quite secure in that sense. Cash, totally not secure. You could get mugged in the street for your $80. Even tap and go is limited artificially to a $100 limit. Unless you call up the bank and say, hey, can you stop this from being done? Frank Abagnale, who was the FBI agent in Catch Me If You Can, the criminal turned FBI agent, real guy. He explains that nothing is secure. There is always a way around whatever system you put in place. There will always be a way to hack it. There will always be a way to bypass or completely ignore. So we're always going to be finding the most secure way to have a currency of some sort, which ultimately comes back down to farming practices. Like, if I can grow crops of my own and be self-sufficient, that is probably the most secure way to ensure my own survival. And trading those, I'll trade a cabbage for your $80. I have $80, sure, but if the $80 doesn't mean anything, you have the cabbages, you have the power.
Well, that's right, yeah. And I guess the decentralization of these currencies is what interests me, because all of our currencies at the moment and traditionally have been controlled by someone somewhere who can arbitrarily just create more of it and delete some of it as well. But from what I understand with the blockchain technology, it would be impossible for someone to just kind of alter it.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, what happens to all those big companies with lots and lots of money whose sole purpose is controlling currencies and controlling economies, when that is no longer may not be a thing in the future? I think that's quite interesting. And also, because the blockchain technology can be used for contracts, smart contracts. I think I've heard the term. I think it's going to put a lot of lawyers out of business as well, because that was kind of their job to kind of read and go, oh, that doesn't match up or whatever. But if that's just going to be done automatically anyway, we're not talking about a job where there's a few people who do it and they don't make much money. We're talking about big institutions who run the world, whose sole job may be disappearing. So isn't that going to completely change the world? I mean, if if there was some sort of a job I don't know, juggling. I'm not having a go at jugglers. I'm just saying that it's a small population of people do juggling, right? And it
even less professionally.
And there probably isn't a huge economy in the juggling industry, right?
Yeah.
But lawyers is one of the lots of people are lawyers, and most politicians are lawyers, and they're big money. And then if you think about centralized economies, so banks and federal reserves and governments, that kind of thing. These are some of the biggest institutions in the world, definitely with the biggest budgets and money in the world. Their sole purpose may be going down the drain, and then it might be a big power shift and power vacuum and all that kind of thing. Is that am I dream? Is that a dream, or is that in close to reality? Or
well, the concept of corporate law would be the bigger issue. So criminal law will almost always exist until cyber law, I guess, takes over. I don't know exactly in which way, but corporate law, it's civil law even, definitely will change. The face of that will change. You will have, essentially people comparing contracts will be redundant because computers can just bring up the line where it's different, essentially negating the need for interns going through and going, that one's different right there. And then handing that to a lawyer to go, you're right, that is different. I'll have my money, thank you. And we'll go with this one. So interpretation of law will be important, interpretation of contracts. But I don't see too many other uses for blockchain technology at this point. But that's just because I'm dumb. You could use them for so many things. But
what do you think the role of banks will be in the future? Again, they're one of these big industries that kind of rule the world a bit.
Yeah.
And will it affect them? How do you think it'll affect them, I suppose?
They say banks are too big to fail, which is totally wrong because that's how we ended up with the global economic crisis last time around.
That's right.
And yeah, when we have tap and go for everything, and suddenly your bank is out of service because they're doing a server update on the back end or power's gone out at the local whatever, it can cause chaos. It has caused weekends of huge dramas because banks suddenly were not having money being transferred through them. So we did have to resort to cash, and because so many people weren't carrying cash, it was definitely big in Canberra when this happened, and it has happened regularly. I think Westpac has had it, NAB has had it.
Okay.
Quite a few banks, if they haven't had it, they will have this happen because points of failure are inevitable. But if we don't have cash to resort back to, what have we got? We've got an honour system, essentially,
Right.
which is where blockchain technology would be quite handy because it would be the backup. Because we could say, yes, I came and got a coffee off you, and you sign the register. And that is quite literally a physical representation of what the blockchain technology is.
Yeah, I suppose. The register.
The next person comes down and says, yes, I've signed on this, and yes, there was this many signatures above me, and I also owe $4 to this barista. And then when all the technology comes back online, the barista goes, okay, I'm going to call in all these different transactions. Suddenly they're a whole lot richer. And if someone disputes it and says, I don't think that I was there, you just look at the last signature on the list and goes, well, was all of this correct when you signed it? Does anything look like it was edited? And sure, signatures can be faked, but if enough people have confirmed that they've paid and signed and dated, you don't have much of a leg to stand on at the end of it. So as long as there is some form of digital version of that with blockchain technology, that is essentially our only backup other than cash.
Yeah. And whenever we talk about these kind of technological movements forward, I think about how it's easy to forget that not everyone will have the technology. We will probably have it, but a lot of the world won't. And it'd be interesting to see what those who have the technology and those who don't, and how they interact together. Do you think everyone will have access to, let's say, blockchain technology? And if not, what effects there might be because of the difference? Or?
Yeah, so I don't use it at the moment. I don't have a personal need for it. And values of blockchain or cryptocurrency, they do fluctuate quite wildly. Some of them have settled down quite a lot, but they do rely on heavy computer resources. So GPUs and CPU processing power is the big one. So you can actually mine for cryptocurrency, which is not beneficial anymore because everyone has been doing it.
That's right. Yeah.
And the more that everyone mines, the less valuable things actually will be. But if I go to, for example, the Solomon Islands and want to pay for something, there's no guarantee that the store will have electricity, much less an internet connection of any kind. So they will need to rely on cash. So when I land at Solomon Islands Airport, or when I leave from, I think Brisbane Airport's the only one that goes to Solomon Islands, I'll need to exchange my hypothetical cryptocurrency or blockchain currency into physical currency that is suitable for it. So exchange rates will not be from coin type to coin type. They'll be from currency type or trade type to trade type.
Yeah, and that's interesting as well. Like at the moment, we all have different currencies around the world. Europe has experimented with trying to just make one currency for their area.
Except the Brits.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Well, I mean, but then like
denied it.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it to opine about it, but it seemed like I think they were happy with their currency as it was going. I thought, yeah, we'll hedge our bets here. I think.
Yeah.
But do you think or do you foresee, let's say, the world having one cryptocurrency if that's the way they go, or will there be competing ones around the world? And do you think it'll be regionalized, or why would it be? I don't know.
I mean, there's no particular reason why it should be regionalized, other than the sense that people have created cryptocurrency out of nothing. I was reading a Reddit post the other day which was talking about, so Reddit writes Seinfeld. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It was talking about what would happen if Kramer invented his own cryptocurrency.
And he would though, and he would probably.
And he would. He definitely would. And I think there's only too many times that you can create a new currency and for it to be viable. A global blockchain technology does make sense from a value sense.
Do you think it might be a bit like Facebook or Google, where in the beginning there were lots of different ones, there were other search engines, there were other social media, but just over time everyone kind of went towards possibly
the main ones.
Yeah, I was going to say the best ones, but let's just say the main ones. For whatever phenomenon, they all kind of gravitate to this one, and the more people who join it, the more valuable it becomes. So you just kind of, now it's Google, now it's Facebook, whatever. Do you think cryptocurrency might do a similar thing, where there's lots of different ones, and then people kind of gravitate towards one? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it has happened with Bitcoin.
That's right, yeah.
What were some of the other ones? Ethereum, Bitbucks, maybe. I don't know, that doesn't even sound real.
Yeah, that's a different website. Yeah. We'll link to that in the description.
No,
we won't.
Don't click on that link. No. I don't see a specific technology coming out on top anytime soon.
Right.
Unlike with the Google, Microsoft competition, the Facebook and the I don't know what is the comparison with Facebook. I guess Google as well. They're a bit different between those three, but Microsoft typically has the email, the Office solutions, the gaming platform. Facebook has the social media platform and the password negating technology almost. The login with your Facebook account, which is totally not secure in any way, shape or form, because if you lose access to your Facebook, you've lost access to your entire internet history. And
I was thinking, like you're saying, how Microsoft has has had and still has the kind of the dominance for office word processing and that kind of stuff. But with Google's apps now they have within their browser. I was trying to think, like, is that or would that kind of compete with Microsoft, for their kind of things? And then I kind of remember that it's probably more like Google's kind of suite. It's probably more for like individuals, like an individual just wanting to type up software, whatever. And traditionally, I think a lot of individuals with not much money haven't always paid for their Microsoft things. Yeah. And I don't think Microsoft have cared too much because they haven't really tried to cut down that too much. I think where they make money is when they sell like 100 copies to like an office or to a law firm or to a government, whatever. And they know that those kind of organizations can't skimp it on it. They have to pay for it. Right? They're not going to like get a pirated copy and do that while they're in a meeting with their clients or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's where Microsoft will go, well, that's where we're always going to make our money. So we're happy with that. Well, who knows for how long. And I think Google's like, well, if the individual like students and stuff aren't paying for their Microsoft, well, we're going to kind of give it to them for free and take them. And Microsoft like, yeah, have them. They don't make money for us. Is that wise? I don't know. But is that how you see it? Or
well, Microsoft now has to make money through either subscription-based services like
right, yeah.
Office 365 or the ads that they will ram down your throat through Windows 10, which is, if you are using it for free, advertising is going to happen because if it's for free, you are the product, not what
that's
you're
right.
using.
Yes.
So I can't remember which country it was. I think it might have been the French police force. Even they all use a free document system. So I think that it's either OpenOffice or LibreOffice. Two great free solutions that. As long as you're not using a Microsoft-specific format like DocX, it's quite handy. You can use a rich text format. LibreOffice, if everyone's on it, great. Or OpenOffice, if everyone's on it, great. They're both Linux originally.
Right.
They are open source to some extent.
Right, yeah.
And that does bite into the market of the free Office space. The only times that I've needed Microsoft Word was when someone said, hey, can you send it to us in a .docx format? And I go, no.
Because I'd have to pay for that.
Because I would have had to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, I own Microsoft Word now, the 2016 version, which was the last version that actually was a buy it once, buy it for life.
Subscription now based or whatever.
It actually was coming out at about the same time that Office 365 was becoming popular. But I mean, realistically, I can use Google Docs for just about anything, as long as I don't mind Google having my information, which I don't. I, for one, welcome our Google overlords. Because, I mean, they've got YouTube, which I consume a hell of a lot of. Yes. I've got Gmail, which I use as an email account, and it is a login platform for just about everything. So, well done, Google. And please don't become evil.
Yeah. Isn't it in their mission statement that they have like a "Don't be evil" in their mission statement?
I think it is.
Yeah. It might be.
I feel like I've read it somewhere. It's possibly an urban myth.
Yeah. That's right.
Who actually reads the terms and conditions?
And also Google Maps as well is something that
Google Maps
use all the time, and there's no rival to it really. It's just.
I mean, Apple had
they
their
tried,
thing.
Yeah.
They tried.
That was comical.
It was comically bad to start with, but when I started using it, I was like, "Oh, I wonder how bad this could be." It wasn't actually that bad in urban areas.
Cool.
And reliable phones. So anything which was iPhone 5 or later would have been a lot more suitable for the GPS side of things, because I think the main complaint was that the maps were incomplete and the distance that it expected you to be away from your area was very wildly inaccurate.
Okay, right.
And I mean, it's only fair. Like the time taken that Apple normally puts up on your screen when you're transferring files was usually pretty accurate, whereas Microsoft's was wildly, a couple of seconds, a couple of days.
Yeah, and that last 1% took a long time.
just like the washing machines.
That's right,
it's like, that last minute is taking 5-10 minutes. Oh, we've got some light in here.
Ooh. Thank you,
Sun's
Google.
come out.
God.
The Google Cloud is parted.
Just when you said about Microsoft ramming ads down your throat, can I talk about something about ramming down your throat? No. Can I talk about ads being rammed down your throat? So last night I reinstalled GTA Online. I haven't played it for ages.
GTA Online.
Yeah.
Like, which version of this are we talking?
Of whatever the GTA 5, whatever it is.
Whatever.
That one, and. I downloaded it, took ages to download, jumped on, and it gave the option. I made a new character as opposed to my one I had before, and it said, do you want to start at level 1 or do you want to start at the level of the other character? I'm like, let's start there, why not? It sounds like cheating, let's do that. Did that. Yep. But what that meant is that like every single thing I had unlocked with the first character, this one now had, and every single DLC and update, blah, 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 that I'd done with that character and had happened in the last few years, all suddenly got dumped on this new character. And the way they do it in GTA, it's not like, before you log in, like in most games, like before you log in, it says, these are the updates, this is what's been installed. You're like, that's interesting. Okay, I've unlocked that, cool. Now, what it does, it gives you phone calls during the game. Yeah, it goes, bring. Oh, hi there. I just want to let you know that we've got these new houses available. You should buy them. I'm like, okay. Bring. Oh, we've got these new cars for sale. You should buy them here at .com. Like, and I played for about an hour, and for the entire hour, the phones kept calling about all these different things. Now, I think if you'd played from level 1 onwards, you'd get 1 or 2 every now and then, but it just said, okay, for the last like 15 levels, I think it was, it's like, here's all of it. And it got me thinking about a lot of pain and anger in my life, but also made me think about, wait, this isn't just you've unlocked something, this is advertising. Because a lot of this stuff you buy with your money in game, which I'm sure you can earn somehow and probably pay real money for that money. But also it's a game that's been out for ages, and it must make money from people using real money to buy stuff in the game. So no wonder they're advertising in your face all the time, saying, "Hey, have you thought about buying this house or this car in game and probably with real money?" I mean, I just kept hitting go away. I hate that kind of stuff in real life. Now I've got to deal with people calling me to sell me stuff in a game. It made me think about like all this kind of cryptocurrency. Like, is the GTA gold or money? So I was thinking gold of WoW, but the same issues World of Warcraft had as well, with their in-game money being quite valuable in some ways. People would pay real money, real world money for online in-game money. It just made me think like how, again, we're talking about value. The in-game money in GTA is valuable enough for them to hire real people in real life to make content and push it down the players' throats to sell. Isn't that bizarre?
You've got to make money somehow.
Yeah.
Because you've got to make a living somehow. But if you're just doing it to become rich, I do see video games as an art, and I do think that people should be paid for their arts, but there's a limit. You don't want to rely on 1 or 2 whales that buy all your in-game content, because that's a great short-term environment. But if only 1 or 2 people are buying that content, eventually they're going to get bored, because they'll be top tier, they'll have everything unlocked, and they'll move on to a different game.
That's right, yeah.
And they've just got way too much money and not using it wisely. If a lot of people pay with microtransactions for certain things, like small upgrades in certain things, I think the pay-to-win model sucks. I am totally against actually paying for anything in any game whatsoever, which is why I don't game that much anymore.
It's hard to find a game where you can get away with it.
Except for the seasonal games, which I don't mind. whatever EA Sports game, if you're not buying anything, you just play it for that season. Something else comes out. Part of the Patient Gamers forum on Reddit as well, which is basically any game that comes out a couple of years down the track, you'll eventually go to it and go, oh yeah, this looks pretty good, I'll have a go. It's cheaper because it's a few years old, unless it's GTA, because GTA hasn't had an update hasn't had a new GTA come out in a while.
And it's still selling at a AAA price, whatever it is. It's like if you look on Steam, it's still like really expensive to buy, and apparently they're still selling copies. It's like, wow, people are still buying it.
Huge. And online, there's no other option for people to move forwards to yet, which is definitely the Rockstar model at the moment. When Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out, which a lot of people are hyped for. I'm very, very hyped for that game. I love the original. A lot of people will move to that for a short period of time, possibly longer if the online content is like GTA but with horses.
That's right, yeah.
Because, why not fuck a horse instead of a hooker?
Anyway, back to the game.
Welcome to Rude Jokes Parlor.
I was thinking about during my experience playing last night. I almost felt like I would be happy to pay in-game money for someone to block all the ads in-game. In my real life, I'm happy to I hate all the advertising and the annoying things, but now there's annoying things in this fake world. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind giving some of this fake money to someone in-game to stop all the fake annoying things happening. It's a bizarre situation, yeah.
But that definitely makes sense with YouTube's model of YouTube Red, or whatever they're calling it at the moment, where you pay your subscription fee, you don't get ads.
Right.
Great. Useful for people if you have money and you're particularly sick of those ads coming up. Or you can just use an ad blocker. Which
for free. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I'll use the ad blocker, which is not useful if I use my phone because the ad blocker is not working on my phone. So I still end up consuming ads through my phone on a short YouTube video. But if it's like a 15-second ad and like a minute-long video... No way. I'm not actually going to be watching that video, so I'm just going to close it. I don't care if the ad people already have my money. I'm not going to consume a 1-minute piece of content. If it's an hour-long podcast, like this one's slowly becoming... we should probably check to see if that phone's still recording.
True, yeah. We'll wrap up after this. This is the final comment for Joe. We'll take a break and we may come back. Or we may come back later, whatever.
We probably will. We'll always come multiple times.
Wow. Cool. Actually, something I want to talk about, and we'll talk about it after the break.
After the break.
Is like...
with these messages brought to you by...
this advertiser. But don't use AdBlock when you're watching our video, by the way. You should go to our sponsors.
Which AdBlock won't work if we have in-video advertising. So someone who wants us to advertise for them should contact us, pay us a lot of money, and we'll give you a spot 43 minutes into the content.
That's right.
Very valuable time space.
So...
Or we just don't advertise.
Anyway, so all of this, let's talk about this after the break. Peace out. Oh, wait. Peace off.
Peace off.
Shit.